This is unprecedented. This disease is behaving in a way we haven't seen avian flu behave. We have to think about future years. This may well not come back in its current form. It doesn't. I hope it goes away by the end of the spring, but it's affected such a range of species that we will have to watch that very closely. That's why our measures that we propose to introduce will be maintained probably till the end of April, but constantly under review. But I hope that we will see this threat reduce and us be able to go back to normal high biosecurity, because the threat of avian flu actually never goes away. We think we've made a sensible risk-based judgment to allow free range to resume whilst dealing with the highest risk areas. We know and we sympathise with those of you who are caught in the about 25% of keepers, about 17% of free range producers that will be required still to house or otherwise net. But we think you are at really high risk. Every time you go down, it's devastating for the individual, for the business, for the farmer. It costs about 3 million a pop, of which 2 million is to the taxpayer, which you can't expect them to absorb lightly, and about 1 million falls in various ways to your industry. So this is not trivial. We want to minimise the chance of that happening. Final ministerial decision, not yet, but it's imminent. Obviously, we're running up to the end of February. I've said too many times, this is never going to be business as usual anymore. We've got to recognise this threat. And I think finally, think about what you're going to do next. I think some of you may choose not to go back to range. And I think this is a risk-based approach, taking pretty pragmatic judgments. Some of you will know that even if you're in the area that's not defined as high risk, you are at high risk. So if you do know that, think very hard about what you do next, because don't invite disease onto your farm. It's not good for the industry, it's not good for the country, and it's definitely not good for you. So you'll be making those judgments. If you do choose to go back to range, do everything you can. Don't think we're asking for the impossible so you can't do anything. There are things you can do, so please do them. So I mean, we're obliging housing or netting in the higher risk areas, and I meant some people outside that may, despite us making that broad judgment, choose, because they consider themselves to be at greater risk, to maintain housing, and we've heard that.
During the current
during this period.
Yeah, I didn't know what you meant, somewhere choose to drop free range.
What it takes you on to is the point that James made very effectively, that there are some operations where they're at sufficiently high risk that is predictable that year on year they'll continue to be at high risk, no fault of their own, it's just where they happen to be. They should reflect very carefully about how that fits in with their business and whether that's sustainable. So I just re-emphasise what James said.